And then when they finally let me leave, I was allowed to get dressed again. And then I walked out to the parking lot again, and there were still the protesters there with a camera, and had to throw my hood back over my head and get back into the car. And my boyfriend looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine." Things got pretty bad pretty quick. I would try to talk to him about, the emotions I was feeling and the pain that I was feeling, and he would be like, "You're still not over this?" And he would just get mad at me for being sad and upset. One day, we had been getting ready for class because I was back in school at this point. We were getting ready for class, and we had a really big argument, and he didn't hit me, but he raised his hand at me like he was going to, and I backed away from him. And when I backed away from him, he punched the wall, and he said, "I would never hit you. Why are you acting like I'm going to hit you?" Well, I felt like he was going to, and I was scared. And instead of going to class, I went to one of my professors and sat down in her office and cried. And so she was really worried about me, and she pulled out a picture of her daughter after her daughter had been beat up by a boyfriend. And she said, "I keep this picture in my office because I want to help girls like you before this happens to them." And that really turned the light bulb on in my head, and that made me realize that I needed to get out of there before I got hurt. So that afternoon I called my mom, and my mom helped me move all my stuff, and I moved back home, and I got out of his house and I got out of his life. And that really, at that point, that was like the turning point. That was when I started to find the healing I really needed to find. It was a few days later that I went to my church, and I spoke to my pastor, and I sat down with him, and I told him about the abortion. I told him about everything. And it just so happened that one of the ladies from the Pregnancy Care Center went to my church, and she happened to be there that afternoon. And she wasn't supposed to be there. It wasn't, it was just God's plan that she happened to be there, and she happened to be willing to talk to me. And the two of us sat down, and she told me all about a Bible study that was run at the Pregnancy Care Center, and I was really excited about it. And I was so excited to finally meet somebody who had been where I was, and to finally meet somebody who understood, because I felt like I was the only woman ever who had had an abortion and regretted it, because there just aren't that many people that stand up and say, this is what I've done, this is how I feel about it. And so it was just so nice to finally hear some of the same things that I had said coming out of somebody else's mouth. And it really validated all the feelings I had, and it made me feel so much better. And eventually I ended up coming to the Pregnancy Care Center and doing the Bible study, Forgiven and Set Free. And that was a really wonderful experience. I finally was able to really think about the things that I had done, and really think about what had led me to those actions and everything. And it was, even though I was brought up in the church, I had never really been strong in my faith. I believed in God, and I believed in salvation and everything, but this is the first time I'd ever really used my Bible and was looking up verses and really enjoying that. And I was really excited to start having God back in my life, and it really made me feel so much better. And from the beginning of the Bible study to the end of it, I just feel like I was a completely different person from week 1 to week 13, I believe it was. And I finally started to feel that peace, and I started to feel whole again, and I started to find myself again. I had the confidence to go talk to a recruiter for the Coast Guard. I had the confidence to do everything I needed to do to start moving on with my life and to rebuild my life from the rubble that was left. And the Word of God and the salvation that I found was just amazing, and I've never felt so strong and confident about things before, and I really feel that God has really uplifted me and really helped me to discover who I am again, and that's a wonderful gift because I never thought I was going to be able to find myself again.